views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we are the ones that have urged you all along, encouraged you to like and share them on social media and with all your friends and neighbors, because it's time for the Sue Ellen Sanders Show with Sue Ellen Sanders.
Welcome to the Sue Ellen Sanders Show, and we're glad you're here. I'm really excited to start the new year with a show with old friends, actually, and Christina Kaiser. We were just talking before the show. She has been probably on my show at least 20 times or more. She is the Director of Community Relations for Communities Connected for Kids, which is also known as CC Kids is the short term. And then also Jordan Bebo, who is the Community Resource Coordinator. She's kind of a new hire. She's been out and about in the community a lot for CC Kids and joining different organizations and representing the organization. And honestly, she's one of my favorite people because she's one of my son's best friends. So it's good to see Christina again here, and Jordan here for the first time on the radio show. So we're excited and welcome.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
I'm going to, since you're so tall, Christina, I'm going to point your microphone up just a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Because you sit tall, too.
I do.
That's okay. I'm just a short sitter.
Well, thank you for having us today. Yeah. Oh, short sitter? I guess it is now. It's your show, Sue Ellen.
You're welcome. I really, over the years when we've had the Christina usually, and a lot of times she brings somebody else with her for CC Kids, and we talk about the mission. But if you're not familiar with it, Christina and Jordan are going to describe that for you now.
Oh, absolutely. So Communities Connected for Kids, we are responsible for the child welfare community of care in what is Circuit 19 of the judicial system, which, you know, if anyone's listening, all they're hearing is blah, 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 blah. What that actually means is that
DCF contracts.
Yes, and we provide child welfare services, foster care, adoptions, protective services, to Indian River, St. Lucie, Martin, and Okeechobee counties. And before we came on today, Jordan had reminded me that we might actually want to start today thanking all of our sponsors in the community that came out in force to help us with our toy drive at Christmas time. I think right now our census, we have approximately 1,000 children in care, and we were able to collect more than 3,000 gifts. So we were able to give about 3 presents per child who are currently in the system of care, because of all of the different businesses, community groups, social groups, churches, schools who came together and helped us collect these gifts. So I didn't mean to hog the whole microphone.
No.
It was actually Jordan's idea to give that shout out, so I'll let her add to that if she wants to.
And I know on social media we saw pictures of Jordan going to different organizations and businesses collecting presents and then handing them out. You were kind of like almost like Santa Claus this year.
Yeah, I was one of Santa's elves. It was really fun packing the bags, making sure there was a name on it, and there was at least 3 toys. I was like really excited to put educational toys in there. We got some STEM kits from Guardians for New Futures. They are so amazing. They did a great job with volunteering and just really organizing the whole thing.
Yeah, they're Guardians for New Futures. Are you familiar with them?
I absolutely am.
Debbie Butler.
Yes, yeah.
And, oh my gosh, they're just a crew of angels.
And what I love to hear is the synergy between the nonprofit organizations and the organizations that need help. And, you know, as we finish off the holiday season here, there were a lot of different organizations and groups that were collecting holiday gifts for children, for different groups of children that were underprivileged. But and WPSL does that with the Christmas kids too. But it's not a competition because everybody helps everybody else, and everybody has a different group that they are helping. And if only there was a way to make sure that every kid had some holiday presents under the tree, or whether they celebrate Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or Christmas, whatever do you put it, like under the candles or something like that. I don't know, but if only every kid, we could guarantee that every kid could get gifts, because I don't know if you've recently watched National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I mean, it's a classic.
I'm
it's
forced to watch it
every
Christmas,
year. Yeah. And I'm surprised at how young everybody is in it, right? We were looking up everybody's ages. That's like a 40 or 42-year-old Chevy Chase in that. But one of his cousin's kids, the one that pulls up in the RV, and she has this frank little conversation with Clark, the Chevy Chase character, in which she says, my dad says Santa doesn't come for us, that we shouldn't expect anything again this year. And we did it last year. And, all over the world, people's hearts are breaking when they hear those kids say that. And yeah, that's a movie, but it happens every day.
Well, we always say with our Christmas program, first of all, I think, no, I'm sure nothing is 100%, right? But we are really confident that we get very close to that in the child welfare community and our community. So children who are in the foster care system, they do receive. But one of the things that we've always said was we ask the community how our children sometimes move from home to home. They're removed from home. They're living in a foster home. Maybe they're living with a relative, but they're not at home. So how can Santa Claus find them? And so when we build our program and when we partner with these fabulous partners throughout the community every year, that's really the question that's first and foremost in our minds is, how do we make sure Santa finds them? And that's what we do. We all work together and we make sure that that's what happens. So at least for our system of care, for children who are in the dependency system, foster care, protective services, Santa Claus surely does know where to find them and leaves them their gifts.
And while we're on that subject, though, it's not just at the holiday times that CC Kids looks out for the kids and the families that are in the system.
No, absolutely not. Well, it's a full-time job. That's all we do is look after children and families who are in the system. But I think you might actually be pointing toward resources and the things that people need. And that's actually what Jordan here was hired to do recently, was to really focus on those types of resources that we might be able to procure from the community that we know that our families need. So one of the things that she's been working on actually has been to survey our case managers, survey our staff to find out, all right, what is it that you need? So,
because it's always good to ask that question before you start going around collecting things, and then
you have to.
You'd be surprised at how many organizations don't do that, though.
Well, I tell you what, I mean, and everything ebbs and flows. Like there might be some years where we need luggage or we need toiletry bags, but then we might put the word out into the community, and that really resonates. People, it is easy as soon as you say we need luggage, you have luggage, right? But what happens is you get such a killer response that you don't need luggage for another 2 or 3 years. So you really have to you have to ask constantly. We are always getting new children in. We're
Promise
always
me
getting
you'll
new
tell me the
families.
next time you need luggage, because I've got some for you.
I will let you know.
We'll hold on to it till then.
But one of the things Jordan is doing and will continue to do is to periodically survey our staff to find out, all right, the kids who are coming into care right now, what needs are they bringing with them? Do they need, luggage? Do they need underwear? I mean, we just had a donation from Operation Underwear yesterday, and
I didn't know there was an organization called that.
I think that it's a new thing.
Okay.
Newer, yes.
Do you know a little bit about Operation Underwear?
Well,
Sorry.
we know that they probably collect
I teed
and
you up
supply
and I left you
underwear.
swinging in the breeze. Well, it is new in the Treasure Coast. I do know that. It's a resource that has been it's a project that has been happening in Palm Beach, and I know that the people involved were wanting to get a foothold on the Treasure Coast, and now they have, and we have, I think, 5 or 6 big boxes of brand new socks, underwear, and that's a need. I think every nonprofit is always going to have a need for new underwear and socks and things like that. But then, there's toys at Christmas time, toiletries throughout the year. We do a big back to school with the help of the United Way, all of the United Ways, but especially the United Way of St. Lucie County and its Tools for Schools campaign. Thank you guys if you're listening. So we collect backpacks and school supplies, and it really is a never-ending cycle of just finding out what people need and getting it to them.
Because the kids that are in foster care, their everyday needs don't stop just because they're in foster care. And you can't always expect the foster families to be able to take care of all of those needs. So let's talk a little bit more about the specifics of what you do at CC Kids and how people can get involved, other than organizations who can partner with Jordan and with yourself to provide supplies that are needed. What are some of the ways that you could use, say, volunteers or people stepping up to become foster parents?
Well, that's a really good transition into what is always has and always will be our greatest need, which is foster homes. We just do. It's the hardest ask. It's our most frequent ask. It's not going to go away. We're going to continue to shout it from the rooftops until we're blue in the face. But yeah, foster homes are really the foundation of the child welfare system. When you don't have enough foster homes, then you have a higher incidence of sibling groups that are separated. So, I mean, think about that for a second. You have problems at home. A stranger comes into your house, is looking around, is checking your refrigerator, is talking to your mom, talking to dad. You already know you're experiencing trauma at home, but that's what you know. And then the next thing, you're being removed from everything that you've ever known, your mom, your dad, your siblings, your pet. And if you don't have a home close to where you live or even in your county, then on top of all that, you are being moved further away, so it's harder and harder for you to even be able to visit with your parents, because let's face it, a lot of times transportation is a barrier. You have
to change
going
schools.
to a different school. So it's not, when a child is removed from home, it's not just the trauma of being removed from mom and dad. It's being removed from absolutely everything that they have ever known, any kind of familiarity. So, not meaning to wax poetic here, the point is, if we have enough foster homes, then we can mitigate some of that additional trauma. So we can keep them closer to home. We can keep them in their neighborhoods. They can continue to go to their own faith church or temple or whatever. They can continue to participate in their brownies or their scouts, or, you know, I don't need to make my point anymore, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, no,
we need
get it.
foster homes.
And they don't lose all the connections they had. They just
Right.
lose some of them.
And it is a very real thing. So sibling separation, it's heartbreaking. Research has demonstrated that the bond between siblings is actually a greater bond than the bond between child and parent.
And you are more influenced by a sibling than you are from any other
Yes.
relationship in your life.
And
It's
greater
true.
is probably the wrong word, but the significance of the bond
Yeah.
between siblings is very, very high. And so when children are separated from one another, when siblings are separated from one another, it just compounds the trauma. And that happens a lot, and we're not proud of that. We have too few foster homes in our community. I mentioned the 4 counties that we serve. Okeechobee is our rural community, and we're improving. We're getting more foster homes, but we've always had far too few there. So, you know, you remove a child from home in Okeechobee, a lot of times they're leaving an entire
The whole
community,
county, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and then on top of that, we have more children who may end up in a group home setting. And group homes are a vital part of any child welfare community, but it should not be the go-to. When you're in a place where a child is going to a group home just because there's no other place to put him, then that's a failure. So we try to make sure that our system is strong enough so that children are served in a place where they can grow and thrive and stay connected to their family, because really the whole point is to get them back home.
And along the lines of that point, to get them back home, at the same time you're looking for a foster home for the children or the child, you are at the same time educating the parent or parents. So that's part of what you do as well.
Yes, and actually, again, you're asking all the right questions, Sue Ellen.
Good.
Not only, yes, so obviously when children come into care, it's because there are some issues that have to be taken care of at home, and so there are services that we provide to families to help correct some of the problems, to help teach, reteach, but also there is, it's not really new, but it is definitely a greater focus now, and as we bring people in and train them to be foster parents, license them, a whole part of the curriculum now is what we call co-parenting. So when we have new foster homes, when we bring people in for training to become foster parents, part of that training is learning how to work with a child's biological family, and that scared people for a really long time.
Yeah, I can imagine that it would, because
it's all in the training.
Yeah.
It's all in the training, and just understanding that it's what's in the best interest for the child.
right. And it's not a competition that everybody's in it together.
No, it's not a competition, and a good foster parent knows that they are there to provide love and stability for a child while that child's family is healing.
Right.
And to help that transition back to home. And so we really emphasize that like I said, that is entirely part of, it's not just like a day in training, it's woven into the entire training. And we've had enormous success. We have had, some of the stories that have come out of co-parenting would just bring tears to your eyes. And now you're going to ask me to share one, right? Now that I've opened my mouth,
yes.
I'm like, what's the story?
Yeah, we'll get the tissues.
Well, we did have, just for example, not that long ago, we had a foster family who had, I think, 3 little girls. The youngest was very young and really hadn't had the opportunity, I think, to bond with mom. So this foster family invited the biological mom. This was actually last year. Invited the biological mom to spend Christmas, and so that she could be there and spend time with her children. And then that, I think that they even had to go to the courts to get permission for mom to come and stay with them. So she was able to stay overnight and be there when and these are the types of things that it's just becoming more and more of the norm. Families that are trained to know how and then do help more fragile families heal, become stronger, get the services that they need, and just, I don't know, model.
It certainly has to up the value of that foster family too, because then the next time they foster, or even when they're dealing with their own children, they probably have skills that would be more useful in the family dynamic.
Absolutely. Things have we definitely have an incredible group of foster parents in our community, people who have really dedicated themselves to caring for other people's children, and who do that and bring to the table, this lack of judgment, because that's really not, they know that that's not what they're there for. They're there to serve, really.
And what if, and there still will be, co-parenting or not, instances where the foster children aren't able to go back home? Is there ever a time where the foster family moves forward to be something in addition to foster?
Yeah, definitely. We have a lot of our foster homes that have also adopted children. That's actually not something that we encourage. We don't,
You don't want them to go into it expecting
that. Exactly.
Yeah.
We do not encourage people to go into foster care because they want to adopt. Mm-hmm. That actually was something not a long time ago, maybe a decade, 15 years ago, that became a real problem. We had a lot of people, good-hearted people that, they just wanted to adopt. They wanted to grow their families. You really, because of the nature of the system, you can't just adopt an infant, because for that first year, we're trying to get, we're working with the family, and so it's just very difficult to adopt infants. So what we were finding is a lot of people were becoming licensed to be foster parents to adopt, and so we would have children that needed placement and get on the phone and nope, they were looking for the child that they wanted in their home to adopt. They weren't actual foster parents. And so we really had to work on that for a while. And like most things in life, it's really just a matter of education, deciding what your priorities are, we as a system deciding what our priorities were, and then sticking to it and going, and then educating. And now we really do have too small for what we need, but a very mighty, excellent network of foster homes in our 4-county community. We just need more. We need more.
You do receive money from DCF as for the contract for supplying those services, but you also have so many other needs for resources, and that's something that I know Jordan has joined to help find in not just St. Lucie County, but all throughout the communities you serve. How do you raise money and raise resources, and what type of special events do you have planned coming up?
Okay, you want me to take that? Well, first of all, I need to say that we actually do not raise money in the local community, and that is strategic.
Okay.
We are a network. We are a community. What's called in the state the lead agency in child welfare. So we are pulling together a network of local providers. So Children's Home Society, Hibiscus Children's Center, Cayuga, Camelot Community Care, on and on and on. So we are purchasing from them. We're partnering with them and purchasing their services. So it really makes no sense for us to be in the community competing
right, because you're
for
giving
local,
them
right, for
money
exactly.
for the services. Yeah.
So we sort of did an what's that
about face?
About face, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Because we did some fundraising in the community,
right, in the past,
a number of years ago. But we had a change in strategy and decided that instead of having a development team, that team, me, would become a part of the agency's advocacy team. And so I work with a group of other members of leadership, our CEO, our COO, Carol Deloach, and Sherry Sheffer, CFO Lauren Hunt. Anyway, we work together with our sister CBCs throughout the state of Florida and with our membership agency, the Florida Coalition for Children. And we work on working with the legislature to expand funding so that we can bring the big dollars back to our local communities. And that actually happened in a very big way last year. I think we were asking for $40 million in additional funding, and the legislature actually gave us more than $150 million.
Wow.
And part that was given with the understanding that we increase case manager salaries because we were throughout the state of Florida having an issue with retention. And that goes into when you have case manager turnover, you have all kinds of implications on the well-being and the quality of life.
Because you want to make sure that your case managers are very well trained to recognize if there's an immediate need or a long-term need in the families, and so
but
they
not
need
only
to
that,
be there.
right? But also so that they're there as a consistent presence in the life of a child.
Right.
So that was done, and it's kind of funny. It's not really. We're getting ready to address our delegations. We've actually been meeting with our legislator all year long, a lot in the summer, but so this incredibly generous, never before seen allocation of funds, $150 million. That went out with the understanding that it would be used to increase case manager salaries, and because of a caveat in statute that allowed for the funding allocation to be changed, then it's a whole thing. It would be really hard to talk about now, but the long story short is that not only did we not get any of that additional funding, but we actually got about $71,000 less in our usual funding. So we, being good stewards of the taxpayer dollar, we had quite a bit of carry forward money, or money that we had held on from previous years, and that is what we use to do all these things that ultimately improve our service and improve what we're doing in the community. So we're getting ready to take that this year as our rallying call. Thanks for all these additional resources.
But now let's see
But now could we make sure that, and then on top of that, right about that time, the accountability, there's a statewide accountability report that came out for the first time this year. And not only are we leading the state, we're the highest performing CBC, community-based care lead agency in the state of Florida, but we're in our own category. We are the only lead agency that exceeded expectations. So we did really, really, really well
to earn that money.
To earn the money, and then we got less. But anyway, we're gonna figure it out. It'll be okay.
But meanwhile, you have, with previous funds that, as you said, you were able to somewhat take care of the case managers, and moving forward.
And And other things.
And
'Cause
other-
we added a couple new programs and services as well.
So, what type of special events do you do? Do you do like parties for the foster families? Do you do different events where they can all get together and play or celebrate them?
Yes, so I am getting really sick of hearing myself talk, but I do understand that Jordan just started with us.
I can
Oh.
answer that question.
She
Okay.
can answer that question. And you know what? She's not afraid to say she doesn't know the answer. If she doesn't know.
So it's really hard to organize events for foster children. That's one thing that we tend to not do, because the foster parents, it's hard to know, it's hard to plan, it's hard to get them to show up, because it's often like there's school, there's
Maybe at
extracurricular
an inconvenient
activities.
time, yeah.
Yes. So that's one thing that maybe our partner agencies do better than us.
Well, yeah, so our children are spread all over the place. So
Yes.
it really is difficult to do
Something that addresses all 4 counties.
because right. And what Jordan is getting at is we will have wonderful sponsors and partners in the community who come forward and ask, "Hey, can we do an event for you?" And we've learned over time that we're not really set up to do that, but we
Okay.
do work with other partners like Cayuga and Camelot and 4Kids, and they coordinate these events for foster kids, foster families. And then we do have, and Jordan wouldn't know this yet because this happens in the spring, so you haven't been here a full year yet. But in the springtime, CC Kids does organize a foster family appreciation pool party and picnic, where we've been doing it at Sailfish Splash in Stewart for the past couple of years, and we invite all of the foster families from all 4 counties.
So
to
it's
come
a
out.
Destination.
It is it's a destination.
Yeah.
It's fun, but Jordan's absolutely right. We were just talking about that the other day. That actually, it's difficult to tell a well-meaning person, well, what do you mean you don't want us to do a pajama party for you on this particular day? And what do you mean the families probably wouldn't show? Well, it's because they're in court, or they're at school, or they're in Okeechobee, or they're traveling to Tallahassee or to Miami because they're transporting a child to a medical appointment. It's a hard population. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take over.
No worries. We do have an event coming up, though. It is in an expo. What's the exact name of it?
It is because it's changed a couple times. It's the Community Connections Expo, right?
Yes, I
New
believe so.
Connections was part of it. I remember seeing it post over the holidays.
We are having some of our partners come, other social service agencies come to tell our case managers and show our case managers what exactly they offer to them. And we also have a few trainings that we're going to do. One of them is a mindfulness training. The other one's a Narcan training, because we all know how important that is right now. And I think it's going to be a really great event. It's for mainly our case managers and
investigators. Any child welfare. Actually, this is a mistake I've been making. It's prevention heavy, but not just for child welfare, but child welfare and also adult protective services.
So what you're looking for in the community is the different agencies that provide the services to come together to be part of the community connection and let these people know what is out there in the community.
So we're working with our clinical and training groups, and they actually have a list of providers that they work with closely, and they are working to bring them, to get them to this expo. We think that we're going to have between 20 and 30 different providers, and as Jordan said, the whole point of it is to bring them all together so that professionals in the community, it's not just professionals, if you want to come out and learn about the prevention services available in our community.
So it will be open to the public,
It will be.
but it's geared toward the more toward the professionals?
It is geared toward the human services professionals, and particularly, I'm going to say this a million times, or maybe just one more time, child investigators, child protective investigators. We really want them to come and see what prevention services are available in our system of care, because we want them to feel comfortable with our services. We want them to feel comfortable with our services so that we can maybe start to decrease the number of children being removed from home.
Do the investigative people work for you, or they work for an additional agency that does the work for you? They're another contractor.
So there are two ends to the child welfare system. The front end is controlled by the Department of Children and Families, and the department is responsible for investigations. So when a report is made about suspected child abuse, the call will go out, and DCF's investigators will go out and investigate. Once it's decided that there's something here and we need services for these kids, there'll be a transition into our system. So then we provide the services. So no, we're not in charge of the investigators. As they actually have control over the front end of our system. So it's incredibly important that we're working together, and that they know we need to be we need to understand what they, like we started talking about. We need to find out from them, what do you need, so that you can do your job well.
So not just with the foster families, but also with the investigators.
Yes.
You want to find out what the resources they need are.
Well, and for protective investigators, what we're talking about is we ideally, whenever possible, we don't want children to be removed from home. We want to address any problems in the home while they're in home. And so that requires certain services and programs. And if we have the right services and we have the right programs to offer investigators, then they will feel comfortable. This is, hopefully they will feel comfortable leaving children at home with these services in place.
Can I ask what type of services that you, what type of preventative services do you help them find for the home? What are...
So we have a few, this is kind of getting outside of my area, but we do have a number.
Just keep reaching.
Yeah, well, I'll just keep talking, right? Because when in doubt, just keep your mouth open. Isn't that how it goes? No. Well, we have.
I don't think that's it.
No, I don't think it is either. But we have a new program called Family Functioning Therapy. I believe that's the name of it. We work with Boys Town. They're programs, parenting type programs, where if you can put these services in the home to work with mom and dad and to address whatever problems that they have, whatever trauma, child abuse is oftentimes the result of someone else's trauma.
Right.
And so we can put these services and programs and people and eyes into the home to help change while keeping the child at home. That's what the goal is. But we can only do that when we have the right programs and services, and also when when the investigators believe that we have the right services and programs.
It's I know you and I have talked about this before in the past. It's hard enough in a natural, non-foster, non-adoptive family for the family to be completely functional. Sometimes you almost think that from the outside in, you might see function, but there's a lot of dysfunction going on. And when you add in all the additional trauma that the family has going on, that the kid might have going on, and maybe the children are in addition acting out because of how they're being treated, and you've got the cycle too of the parents or The other things that the parents are dealing with, maybe they're dealing with stress from their job or lack thereof. Maybe there are drug or alcohol issues in the home. And all of those things come
usually is.
together. Yeah. Well, and there may be in the ordinary home as well.
Yeah.
But it's so hard in today's world to have a functional family that when anything ticks off that makes it harder, it just really ups the stakes of how quickly families can become dysfunctional. So, okay, so the foster families, you're asking for a lot from them because you're asking them to get trained to be a potential foster family, to not have the expectation that those children are going to stay with them, so they're going to have children come stay with them and then leave, and then also to move on to the next when that's done. What are you looking for in a foster parent?
Oh, that's always there's no real hard and fast rules. You can't have committed a felony. It's really more about, what we are looking for in a foster family is someone who can open their home, do all the things that you just said, love a child, protect a child, give them the space to heal, and then to be willing and to be active participants in the family's healing, and then be willing to let the child go at the end of the day. And we do ask a lot of our foster families. And shouldn't we? We're talking about other people's children, for goodness sake. Other people's children. Of course we're asking for a lot. And that's probably partly why it's so difficult to get the numbers that we need, because it is an incredible commitment.
Does it have to be a married couple?
Absolutely not. No. Foster parents can be married, they can be unmarried, they can be gay, they can be straight, they can be mixed race, they can be any religion, they can be any age. You have to demonstrate that you can provide for yourself, and that you are safe. That's pretty much
a safe,
it.
loving place for them to stay.
And then we do the rest. It is an extensive training, 40 hours of training, and you learn everything from dealing with early childhood trauma, the role that substance abuse, domestic violence, mental health has in all of that, co-parenting like we talked about before, different resources in the community. And then also, one of the things that we have added recently is our caregiver support staff. We have a whole team of people whose jobs it is to help our families connect in the community and find the resources that they need, and to have somebody to talk to when they have a problem.
So they have an advocate
Yes.
as well to deal with. Well, we got about 10 minutes left in the show. Are there any other pieces of information that you want to share with the community about what CC Kids is planning to do in the near future?
Do you have any thoughts?
We will continue to extract those resources from the community, like our diaper pantry that we have for the foster families that our caseworkers go to and utilize. And we also have a shoe pantry, which I would like to give Christina a lot of credit for. We run it out of her office. And
yeah, my office literally looks like a shoe
store.
Yeah, it has racks. And that's just such a great resource for kids who need closed-toed shoes to go to school. So that's something a lot of people don't even think about. but that's something that we offer. So stuff like that, I think, is one thing I want to help continue.
And Jordan, a big part of what she's doing also is networking.
Yeah.
Yes, big on that.
She's attending. If you're out there listening and wondering, hey, we haven't heard from CC Kids in a long time. Well, we just haven't been able to get out there and do the networking, go to the chamber events that are so. Anyone who networks, I think, understands the importance of networking, of just being out there with other people, creating a pool of support where you can, like, if you have an event, you can go to a chamber breakfast and say, hey, we're having an event. Can you help us with it, right? And so that's what Jordan has been doing. She's going to get out there more and more. And
If you have a small group or civic organization and you want to have Jordan or you, Christina, come and talk to them, is that something that you do too?
Oh, yes, definitely.
And how do people get in touch with you?
They can call 772-528-0362. That's my cell phone number. You can also call, no, just call that number.
Okay.
Yeah.
But also you've got a website, which is
www.cckids.net.
net. Okay. Or you could Google Communities Connected for Kids and CC Kids. And there's also you have social media. You have Facebook and Instagram.
Jordan got us on LinkedIn.
Awesome. That's like the new thing.
Yes, it's big.
Yeah.
Yeah, she came on board. We were doing Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. We're not doing Twitter anymore, but she's like, we should be on Instagram. I was like, well, or not Instagram, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I said, well, can you explain to me why? So I just said, you know what, just set it up and we'll do it. And it's been fun. I have been learning all about the importance of connecting with other professionals, even if you're not looking for a job, which is what I thought it really was.
Right, because it's really metamorphosized from there, and now, especially when you're asking Jordan and as yourself to be out in the community, that way you could be familiar with, you might run into somebody at a chamber event and not understand what they really do and the connections they have, but you can find their connections through LinkedIn if they've liked you on LinkedIn. So that's awesome. And CC Kids, of course, is for short, but it's Communities Connected for Kids, and it is the people who cover the Treasure Coast. And when we say the Treasure Coast, we mean Martin, St. Lucie, Indian River, and Okeechobee, all 4 counties. And you receive the monies from DCF and then contract. So you have the contract, and then you find, it's almost like you're a house building contractor.
Exactly.
That's exactly
And
what it is.
so you're hiring the roofers, and you're hiring the
plumbers right, exactly.
and the electricians.
We're
you get the
responsible
special,
for the house. We're responsible for building the house.
Yes.
And for getting the right people with the right services to the house to get it done, to get the work done.
Yes, and that's
Thank you. That was exactly. That's usually what I tell people.
Oh, good. Well, you may have told me that one time, and that's why I remember that. So, we'll give me credit anyhow. So you should know that when you run into Jordan or Christina or somebody else who works for Communities Connected for Kids in the community, that they can give you the information about the services that are offered. And then also, if you are at all interested in possibly becoming a foster parent, and that might be ideal for you, instead of making a commitment that is a long-term commitment, to make a commitment to be a resource for children, a safe and warm and loving resource for them for a short period of time. That may be something that people prefer.
Yes. Yeah, we can get you in, and there's all different kinds of ways to get you in the front door.
Finally, of course, shows like Matilda and Annie, they give foster care a bad name. Amusing, funny, musical name. But it's not like that at all.
Yeah, actually, that's funny. I do tell people, it's not like, our kids aren't Little Orphan Annie, and
or Matilda.
We certainly don't. We certainly don't have. Well, Matilda was a school setting, and we that is not our. You'll have to take that up with the Department of Education. But I can speak.
Oh no! She goes home to her parents. Don't you remember Danny DeVito and who else play her parents?
Yeah, but Trunchbull is the. I just watched that this weekend. The new one.
Oh, is that?
There's a new musical.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Boy,
yeah, that's right. I saw it.
Boy, are we getting
advertised.
off track. Let's talk about our favorite musicals.
No, so anyhow, the point that we were making, or that I was making, that it's nothing like that.
It's never the way you think. No, we don't even have orphanages anymore. We have group homes, we have shelters, but those are meant to be temporary. And then we really do believe that the best place for a child is in a family setting.
And that's good to hear, especially if you're a family in need of help. Christina Kaiser has been my guest today, and she is the Director of Community Relations, along with Jordan Bebo, who is the Community Resource Coordinator. And we've been talking to them about the services that CC Kids provides. You can find them on social media, or you can find them on their website, cckids.net. You've been listening to the Sue Ellen Sanders Show. I'm here every week with information about your community and events that are happening here. Have a great day, a great week, and we'll see you soon.
The Sue Ellen Sanders Show, weekends on WPSL. Tune in on the weekends early in the mornings, about 7 o'clock, Saturday morning, sometimes Sundays as well. The Sue Ellen Sanders Show, to find out what's going on here on the Treasure Coast. This is WPSL, Port St. Lucie. Webcaster to the world on Google Home, Alexa, and the TuneIn app on your smartphone.